Turn off your lights. Make sure your doors and windows are locked. Things are about to get spooky. Lost in Walmart by Anonymoose. Kind of the one you might enjoy. So back during COVID, maybe 2022, I was with my family on our bi-weekly grocery trip. We live a half an hour from our town, so we make a night of shopping, out for dinner, and all that. Anyways, we were at our last stop of the night, Walmart. My mom always takes her time in the produce section, so my younger than me, 6-year-old sister and I decided to look at the clothing while we wait. We're still there for maybe 10 or 15 minutes and realized we still hadn't seen our parents come around to go to cash. We'd be able to see this being that the clothing section is right in front of the cash in this location. We decide to find them and see how much longer they'll be, as we're both getting tired of shopping since around 10 p.m. So we go to the produce section where they should be. We don't find them, so we backtrack through the aisles thinking they forgot something and head back to get it. This normally works. It's a big store, but we've been coming to this location since I was a baby, so we know it by heart. We do a full lap around the store and turn up without them. There aren't that many people in the store because of how late it is, so we should have no problem picking them out. We start our second lap. Maybe they were in between aisles and we missed them the first time, right? Well, then we started to notice foreign language. People around us are speaking something other than English. This is super uncommon for the area. It's a small town, and though it's close to Ottawa, not many tourists stop there because there isn't anything for them. We started to notice that not a single person was speaking English. Every person, every family we passed was speaking something we didn't understand. So as we walked, my sister and I are nervously joking about the fact that we can't understand a single person we passed in the last 10 minutes. We complete a second lap, and by this point we're getting worried they've already left the store. But as we near the produce section for the third time, we finally find them. They're basically where we left them originally. We ran up to them happy to finally see some familiar faces, saying how we couldn't find them. Well, my mom says they've been in the produce section the entire time. I swear we checked the damn produce section twice and they were not there before. Even weirder, once we finally found them, it seemed like everyone started speaking English again. I didn't hear another foreign language that night. So either my parents and youngest sister are really good at hiding in plain sight, and there was some sort of foreign tour bus that happened to pull into this small town Walmart at 10 p.m. Or something weird happened. Edit. To be clear, it was not French. We live close to the Quebec border and are exposed to French often. I also dabble in language learning, so it was not German, Russian, Spanish, or Italian either. It literally sounded like English, garblish, close enough to sound familiar, but no word was distinguishable. I'd say I was having a stroke if my sister wasn't experiencing the same thing with me. And as quickly as it was there, it was gone, like the flip of a switch. Hey, this is just a quick little side note from 242. As a fellow Canadian who's never been anywhere near Quebec, I can completely tell you I would know what French sounds like. To my knowledge, everyone in Canada has to learn French as a second language, and I believe Quebec might have to have English as a second language, but don't hold me to that. But you would know what French, Italian, and Spanish would sound like pretty easily once you know what the flow sounds like. They all sound very different, so I completely get where OP is coming from. So just wanted to put my little 2 cents in there. A tear streaked down the face of a trembling woman as she pleaded with her husband to forgive her for breaking his favorite mug, terrified of his reaction and praying that he would concede that it was not her fault. Mercifully, the puppet master agreed with his wife this time, considering that the accident was not caused by her wanton clumsiness, but rather that the string sewed in her wrist had snapped. Missing Remote by Tavasha1811. Okay, so I was watching a YouTube video on my bed. I paused the video using the remote, left the room to get myself a glass of water, and when I came back, the remote was nowhere to be found. I have turned my room upside down, looked in every crevice. The remote is actually nowhere. I'm certain I haven't taken the remote out of the room because I do remember I put it on the bed, right beside my phone after I paused it. I've checked behind my blankets. It's nowhere. I'm not even sad that I lost the remote because I can control the TV from my iPhone. But the point is, I'm just so spooked that it got lost because no one else has been here since I got myself some water, and now it's not here, and it's just so strange. People may argue that it's a human mistake, but when I walked back in the room, I felt the energy change. It was like a wave washed over my brain, my eyes started watering, and there was a significant drop in temperature. No windows were open, and the thermostat was set to 25 degrees Celsius, which is not very cold. It's almost as if it grew legs and walked away. P.S. Okay, I lied. I do care. I want my remote back. P.P.S. I just left the room again, walked in the door, my gaze turned to the place where I last saw my remote, and lo and behold, the remote is just sitting there. This was clearly not there before. I googled it and they said that there was a shift in its dimension, so I did what they advised. I clapped my hands multiple times and even opened the window. Then, like I said, I walked out the door with the briefest while. It was barely a minute, and when I walked in, there it was. The remote was not there before. I know for a fact. So spooky. Does anyone really know what could have happened? I checked the highest possible shelf and under my bed. It was surely not in the room or anywhere for that matter. Then it just, showed up? There are just so many strange events that have happened in the past 10 hours that I just cannot comprehend that all of this is a coincidence. I just don't know why, but everything just feels really different today. All this could just be synchronicity. My husband has been hesitant to try for another baby, saying that 6 kids we currently have is enough. But after I showed him the metrics from our channel indicating that new babies got the most engagement, he had to agree to try for another. Glitch in the Matrix at SeaWorld Orlando by leahisom. My husband and I experienced what we think could only be explained by a glitch in the Matrix at SeaWorld Orlando on Saturday night, November the 30th, 2024, around 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, that had both of us questioning our reality. For context, in case you're unfamiliar with the locker system at SeaWorld, the park has lockers you can rent to store your belongings while on various rides, and you create a 4-digit code to open your assigned locker number that is printed on your receipt, so only you should be able to reopen the locker assigned to you once you're done riding.
It's worth noting these lockers are not otherwise accessible by park guests or employees, since they're made locked even when unassigned and can only be opened from the front using your code until the rental expires. Also, if you rent a transferable locker pass for the entire day like we did, you can press a button and end the rental on the locker you just finished using, so you can transfer your rental to another locker for the next ride. After riding many rides throughout the day using different lockers and ending the night with one of our favorite rides called Pipeline, we gathered all of our belongings from the locker, at least we thought, before exiting the park and walking halfway through the parking lot, when my husband suddenly realized he didn't have his phone with him. Even though we had been diligent about not leaving anything behind in the lockers all day, we thought since it was dark and we were tired, it must have accidentally been left in the locker we last used. So I ran back to the park entrance and returned to the Pipeline as fast as we could. Here's where reality seemed to glitch. We opened the locker, but to our dismay and slight panic, it was empty. We both swiped our hands all around the inside of the locker and didn't feel anything, so I turned my phone's flashlight on, illuminating the inside of the black metal locker entirely. But we could see nothing except for the small white sticker that each of the lockers had, which was fully visible. We shut the locker door and I immediately called his phone, although it was on vibrate, in case it was in his backpack or pocket without us realizing. But he felt nothing, and we could hear nothing vibrating from inside the locker, even though it seemed clear after our first check that it wasn't inside. We opened the locker a second time and did the same check as before, swiping our hands, shining my flashlight, calling his phone, just to make sure we weren't somehow mistaking it for the first time, but it was still empty. We briefly discussed going to look for his phone in the locker for the ride we did before Pipeline, which was a ride called Kraken, that was practically on the other side of the park. When it occurred to my husband, he had already ended the locker rental at Kraken, and the only way we could reopen it without help from the park security would be randomly be reassigned the same locker number as before. We were still standing in front of our locker at Pipeline when my increasingly panicked husband decided to open it for a third time, despite us logically knowing there was no way his phone could be inside. But to both of our disbelief, it was. His phone was laying face down and sideways at the front of the locker, almost directly on top of the white sticker that was now mostly covered by his phone. Yet the sticker had been fully visible before both times that we had checked with my flashlight, and we both had physically felt and seen every square inch of the locker the first 2 times we checked. We left the park feeling perplexed, and I would really love to know what others think. Lovely whispering Jessica, I called to my sister as we explored the pitch-black cave, each one of us roaming a different passage. Stephen, my sister's trembling voice echoed through the cave. I don't know how to whistle. New Door on Old House by HalflingTiefling. I live in an area where most of the homes are 100 plus years old, back when buildings had huge windows to let in natural light to supplement gas lighting, kerosene lamps, candles, etc. They opened wide in the summer to let in a breeze, and, originally at least, they had super hot radiators in front of them so you can keep them open for fresh air during flu season. Huge windows, a lot of them, are such a common thing. We pass a house regularly on my way to work that's a lovely pale blue. It's on an alley across from a parking lot, and the doorway is on the side between it and the house next to it. The side of the house facing the street that has 2 very skinny windows on the first floor and 1 small window on the second floor. It looks like the kind of window you get in the back of a cheap house in the suburbs built in the 1980s. The main entrance is set back pretty far, and again, it's on the side of the house facing another house, and has a few windows. The side facing the alley/parking lot also has a few small windows. It's pretty weird. It looks like an old building, but with miniature windows. Possibly original windows were slided over or something. We lived in a shitty apartment once, where the windows in the pantry and the one bedroom were nailed shut on the inside and sided over on the outside. We drove past it today, and the side of the house facing the street now has a big picture window, door, and wooden porch. There's 3 large windows on the second floor. It looks very welcoming, very inviting, and like the other houses on the street. The larger window, front door, and porch were not there yesterday. The porch doesn't look new. It doesn't look old, but it looks like it's been there for at least a few months. It's wet and muddy, and the front yard isn't churned out from people walking around doing work. The house just suddenly has big windows, a new door, and a big wooden front porch, like over the course of a day. My husband was driving. I pointed it out to him, but we passed it by the time he was able to look. We regularly comment on how dark and unfamiliar the house looks. It really doesn't fit the character of the other houses on the street, and the windows are tiny. Or they were, at least. He doesn't remember the windows being as small as I described them, and said they probably just fixed up the porch. But there never was a porch. There wasn't a door. But now there is. It's unnerving.
Next are the infamous Silent Sisters who never speak, not even at their trial, the doctor said, adding with a chuckle. To the point, some staff believe they communicate without words, but only with each other. Not only with each other, the visitor replied, her voice suddenly distant, her eyes hollow and cold. Here we go again. This time a McDonald's disappeared and then came back. By Almost-Jaded. It's been nice not to post here for a while. No significant glitches for what, almost a year now? As usual, look at my profile if you don't know all my crazy previous posts. A quick side note from 242, I'm planning to narrate all their crazy glitch stories for you. The Harmon Road interconnect is all finished now, so even though I'm still in the place where it disappeared, at least I got built again, almost exactly the way I remember it, and the new Azure Road is great. Development around it's coming along nicely, if it still feels weird every time I drive on it. The girlfriend and I have moved in together in a house off of Azure, so it's part of my routine now. Anyway, moving right along. 4 days ago, as of this post, on the way home from errands, girlfriend wants McDonald's. No problem. There's one a few blocks from our house. Standalone location right next to a KFC. I've lived in this neighborhood off and on for over 11 years. I know this McDonald's. We pull into the shopping center. The sign on the street is there, no McDonald's. We drive around the parking lot. It isn't there. The KFC is there, no McDonald's. We laugh about it and decide maybe it's closed, but like, the whole building is gone. You can't see the KFC from the Walmart because the McDonald's is in the way. And now you can see the KFC. That seems weird. We both commented on it. The sign is still up, Must have been recent. Then we see a McDonald's sign on the Walmart. There wasn't one in this Walmart before. That explains it. They opened one in the Walmart and closed the standalone store. No idea why the whole building had to come down, but whatever. We don't want to go into Walmart, so we leave. 2 days later, now 2 days ago, girlfriend asked if I could stop at McDonald's on the way home from work. She has this thing for their fries dipped in chocolate shake. I know there's more of you out there. I decided to brave going into Walmart so she could have her hot fries and a non-melted shake rather than stopping somewhere further away and going through the drive-thru. I take the Craig exit and head up Lucy to the same shopping center we had been 2 days before. And there is the standalone McDonald's, 2-lane drive-thru right next to KFC, where it's been for about a decade. And there's no McDonald's sign on Walmart. Been there 2 days in a row now, so I guess that's cool. Hey Glitch, how you been? Sorry I disappear between stories, but here we are again.
Scientists have finally found a way to translate the sound of absolute nothingness into words, which they call the language of God. The first time they tested it, the only thing they could hear was the blood-curdling scream. Is this creepy or is it just me? Curse Doc Martens by Relia09. It's probably not creepy or all that crazy to hear about, but having experienced myself, it was probably the most trippy thing that has ever happened to me. I like to call them my haunted Dr. Martens. I had or have these Dr. Martens shoes that I wore out for years until I finally got tired of them and decided I didn't want to wear them anymore. One day, I went to donate some clothes I didn't wear anymore and thought I'd taken them to those public donation bins I have always seen in my town for people to throw in their donated items. I take my clothes and decide that I want to donate those Doc Martens shoes as well. So, on a perfect sunny day, I drive over to one of those donation bins and start throwing my bag of clothes in there. I remember my Doc Martens were outside the bag. I grabbed them and tossed them into the bin. I vividly remember me standing there in front of the bin, tossing the Doc Martens and seeing them fly into the air, falling inside the bin, and feeling relief that I finally got rid of them, since I had them inside my car for a while before finally deciding to drive them to the bin. A few weeks went by. Maybe a month. I was digging through my closet one day because I was looking for something, and as I opened another closet, I swear I was ready to shit bricks on the spot, because in the closet, there they were. My Doc Martens shoes neatly placed on the floor that I had thrown into the donation bin just a few weeks prior. The second I saw them in the closet, I literally shouted and fell back in shock and complete confusion. My brother was in the other room and heard me freaking out. Came over and asked me what was wrong because he just heard me shout and I couldn't even talk straight because I was generally tripping and confused as to why my Doc Martens shoes were back inside my closet, neatly placed on the floor, when I vividly remember tossing them into the donation bin that day. After that, I didn't like touching or seeing the shoes. I got too scared to try to get rid of them again, so I decided to leave them alone. It's been at least 5 years since that occurred, and I never saw those shoes again. Even after I moved, they haven't reappeared. And I'm a minimalist. I don't know where they are. and I hope it stays that way.
Quick edit. I don't do drugs, by the way, and never have. I'm perfectly sane. My brother does, but he no longer remembers that day.
Gustav woke up, and when he realized it was morning of his 5th birthday, the young boy rushed into his parents' room while they were still sleeping. It took far too many tragic lifetime loop restarts to decide his baby brother could not live past today, and it was almost a reflex by now.
And with that, our time together is coming to an end. First of all, if you have a story you'd like me to narrate, whether true or fiction, you can send it to me 3 different ways, either through my subreddit, email, or website. All the links are down below for easy access. Of course, I would like to thank the writers who let me read their stories this evening. I personally don't know what I would do if I got stuck in a Walmart looking for my loved ones and couldn't find them, and then everyone started speaking a different language. Very weird and definitely very off-putting. And personally, if a remote went missing, I would just end up assuming I did it, whether or not I was 99% sure it was where I left it. But I've always been forgetful, so I would just assume it's me. Happy you got your remote back, though. Though I would have a heart attack if my phone that I was 99% sure was in this locker wasn't there. And then just to have it appear randomly in the locker, very creepy and would definitely make my skin crawl. And a house which the doors change and the way it looks outside changes, very odd. I definitely wouldn't know how to explain that in the slightest. Though I did love the username, HalflingTiefling. Love it. And Almost-Jaded had another story for us. I'm still not through all of his yet. About a McDonald's disappearing and then 2 days later just reappearing. Gone, building and everything. Super weird, and I personally would never go back to that McDonald's. Too afraid it'd randomly disappear while I'm near it. And then to have shoes just reappear on you when you know you, donated them? Yeah, I would never touch those shoes again either. I would burn them with fire. Just get rid of them. I'm happy they never showed up again for you, though. And as some longtime listeners probably could hear, I did have a cold while recording some of these stories. I technically still have it right now, but I don't sound as bad as I did. I tried my best to wait out as long as I could for when my voice got a bit better. But a few of these while I was listening, I could definitely hear I was sick. I hope you enjoyed them still anyways. Now if you enjoyed these stories, hit that like button and make sure it feels it. If you're new, please subscribe and turn that pretty little bell to all notifications. And of course, leave me a comment. Tell me what you thought, what kind of stories you like in the future, anything like that. If you're listening on the podcast and are able to, please leave a review, and of course, leave me a comment there as well if you can. If you'd like to help this channel and podcast grow, please share it with anyone who might enjoy it. It helps quite a bit and helps these stories get to some new ears that would have missed it anyways. If you'd like to help in a more financial way like these lovely people on screen, and welcome Wolfman1973. Thank you for your support very much. Well, I do have Patreon and memberships where for $1 a month you get early access and a few other bonuses. If you just like to do a one-time thing, more like a donation instead of recurring, I do have PayPal, Buy Me a Coffee, and super thanks. As always, none of this is expected, just always appreciated. As always, I just really enjoy narrating these stories and bringing them to life for you, whether I'm sick or not. Sleep tight and don't let 42 bite.